Hello, humans, and welcome to episode 11 of Chef Mike Does Stuff. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we have 11% more production value, better lights, lav mic. Hopefully it sounds great and looks great. Let me know what you want me to change in the future. Today, I have 2 slabs of Babyback ribs, so we're making ribs today. It's going to be super simple. I don't want to focus on the rub or the seasoning. Really, what we want to talk about is prepping the ribs. I'm going to be putting them on the smoker. We'll talk about maybe some other ways to cook it. But really, what I want you to do is just cook ribs with whatever rub you have, whatever rub you've made. And once you get the cook process down is when you can start playing around with different flavors and things like that. Now, I do know some rubs have more salt than others. Some have more sugar, and that may make some adjustments to your cook. That's awesome, but really once you get comfortable with cooking ribs in whatever capacity, I think then it's a little better time to play around with flavors and all that stuff. So, awesome. I got 2 racks here. I got my rub ready. I'm going to get to the cutting board. It's going to be super simple, and we're going to cook it till it's done. And then with new lighting, hopefully I provide you with some super sexy food porn. So, let's get to the cutting board. So we have 2 slabs of Babyback's ribs here. Babyback ribs. How about I pronounce that a little better? Just out of the package, I washed them. I sprinkled a little bit of salt on both sides. Okay. Even though I'm going to be pulling off this skin over here, I did salt both sides. But I basically did that because this meat is going to absorb that flavor. Even if you put a bunch of rub on it and let it sit, more often than not, it's mainly the salt that is being absorbed into the meat. So I just went ahead and did that. So super simple, super easy. First thing I'm going to do, these are Babybacks. I'm going to pull off this, there's this like skin on the back here that even when it cooks, it's relatively tough. So what I usually do is, if I don't have a little corner that I can grab with some paper towel, you can see there's kind of this little film is already starting to peel off. Grab a little bit of paper towel. Look at that. And simply just pull it off. Okay? Because this is going to be tough. Some people might want to leave it on. You might like it. By all means, do what you want to do. But I always take those off. Let's see here. Where would be a good end to start? Sometimes you might need to give it a little cut or something to let it get that skin rocking, which is what I am going to do. Now, I'm not doing much trimming at all on these ribs. I'm not doing this for competition. I am not worried about how super amazing, fancy, this whole thing looks, because I'm cooking for my family. If I was doing this competition style, it'd be very different. I might be trimming the bones so they're all the same length. When I'm shopping for the ribs, I might actually try and find the ribs that have the bones that like look the straightest, just because they look great in the box. And the big thing, the big difference, which will be controversial, is when you are cooking ribs for, like, so let's say KCBS barbecue competition. If it is falling off the bone, technically that would be overcooked. Now, yes, your average person loves ribs falling off the bone like I do. That is how I'm going to cook these. But if I was doing this for competition style, I would do it actually probably cook it a little less, just so there'd be a nice bite through, texture to it. So we've got our ribs, we've got that skin pulled off. Now we simply season. Somebody made a comment before about my dirty hands on the shaker container. Well, one of the tricks I learned from a buddy doing barbecue competitions is you can put a glove around your seasoning shaker. So this way, when you're all done, it's not caked up with all this kinds of meat and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to start shaking this on. Let me open the other side here. Boy, that's a hefty. And I'm going to do more on this side than the other side. Some people slather it in mustard, some oil. I do not do that. I just go straight seasoning on the meat. Okay, nice and even, like so. I'm going to go a little heavier on the back than I am on the front, and I'll explain why in a minute. This is just the way I do it. If you have a different way, by all means, do it your way. Okay, I'm going to press that in just a little bit. This is also getting a little moisture to the seasoning so it adheres a little better. That's one of the things that mustard does, but I like my seasoning to be as close to the meat as possible. If you put a layer of mustard on there, there's almost like a little barrier. So some of the seasoning might not, cook up the way I want. But we got one side. Now this side, I'm going to do pretty light. Okay? But I will show you why in a little bit. So pretty light. That's all I'm going to do. Seasoning's got salt. You have to remember that's kind of the deciding factor on how much rub you're using, just because that salt is not going to go away. I actually, when I make my own for competition, I almost have no salt in it because I want to control the salt and not the rest of the rub there. So I keep those two separate, but this rub has some salt. That's all I'm going to do. And like most of the barbecue stuff you have seen me do, I am cooking this over a water pan. So I'm going to put my ribs on this rack here. Okay. Now I'm going to make it so it fits in this bad boy. But the point I'm trying to make is I'm only putting a little bit of rub. There's going to be water in this pan, so it's going to be a nice moist air cook. But what I'm going to do is a method that I was taught at Memphis in May. It's called, and I'm going to do the accent, spray, sprinkle, spray. So I put a little bit on. Every hour, I'm going to sprinkle just a tiny bit more of seasoning on. I'm going to spray it with a mixture of apple juice, water, and apple cider vinegar. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little more. And I'm going to keep doing that about every hour. I think this is going to cook for about 5 or 6 hours. But I'm almost making my own barbecue sauce on it. It's going to look shiny and glistening. All of that should also help control the darkness of the ribs. I'm trying to get a little more of like a cherry red look to it, but sometimes that just doesn't happen. And this rub is not as heavy in paprika as I have on some other ones. But so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put this on a smoker. We're rolling at about 235 right now, 235 degrees. And like I said, I'm going to spray this until it's done. While it's cooking, I'll go out. We'll take some video of some things I'm looking for. But that's it. You just cook it till it's done. That's really 3 things. That's not too hard. You can do it. I believe in you. I'll see you in a few. All right, so we're about an hour and a half in. And I was talking about how we're going to do a little spray, sprinkle, spray action. However, my squeeze bottle broke, so I'm using this, which is something barbecue people use for like doing a mop for brisket or whatever. So what I'm going to do every 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm going to just brush. So this is apple juice, this is apple cider vinegar, a little honey, and a little paprika. So I'm just going to wet it. This is already looking and smelling delicious, nice, shiny, glistening. And now I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of my rub on it. Little bit at a time, very little bit. And every time that, it hits moisture, the sugars are going to dissolve. These are going to be really shiny ribs. Going to be layering the flavors. Shouldn't be super dark or anything like that. Just a little tiny bit. I'm going to do that every 45 minutes to an hour. I'm not going to keep showing you every hour. I promise you I'm going to do it. Maybe a little later we'll take a look at these ribs and see how they're doing. All right, so I pulled our ribs off. They were in about 6 hours, 225 degrees. All I did, there's no sauce on it. I did my spray, sprinkle, spray method. So about every hour, I'd spritz it with apple juice, apple cider vinegar kind of mixture. Put a little tiny bit of rub across the top and spray it a little bit more so it gets this nice bark, caramelized, nice color. Nothing looks burnt on here. You can see I did it over a water pan, so the bottom is definitely not like dark or brown like you've maybe seen some other ribs. But hey, if you want sauce, cover it with sauce. Now, one of the things that is concerning me at the moment is the fact that the meat did not pull away from the bone as much as I would like. I mean, I cooked these bad boys for 7 or so hours. so it should be done. I stabbed it, but we're gonna see what happens here. There's a look on the inside. We've got nice, beautiful smoke ring. That goes real deep down in there. Now, the test of barbecue folk will talk about a bite through. So I should be able to bite through. This is going to be hot. Bite through this, and the meat should still kind of hold on the bone, which I'm imagining it is. Just it actually does feel a little tighter than normal. So that doesn't make me happy, but what are you going to do? All right, I'm going to take a bite. These would be just about right for competition style barbecue. The bone is not falling off, like the meat is not falling off, but it is tender, it's juicy. Great flavor. Because we salted it and let it sit, you get more seasoning like in the meat as opposed to just at the top. If I'm cooking for the average folk or my family, I might let these go a little longer. They'd still seem a little tight to me, the meat. But overall, I think they're pretty darn tasty. Not as happy as I want. I wanted it to just melt. I did cook it for 6 hours, like I said. But hey, I think we got a pretty darn tasty, good product. So, rock and roll. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, retweet, talk about it in AOL chat rooms, whatever you got to do to let people know to watch Chef Mike Does Stuff. Make sure to post pictures of whatever you make because I want to see what you're doing. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to eat some more ribs. Maybe I'll cut this rack and see how I feel. There should be music playing right now. Do, 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 do. Nope. That's too tough. That doesn't make me happy. I'm sad. This is some exclusive behind-the-scenes Chef Mike bonus content because I'm not as happy as I want to be about the ribs that I pulled off my smoker. So what I'm going to do is finish them via sous vide. Here's a bunch of water that I have set to 160 degrees. It's warming up right now. I have those ribs that were pretty good. They are now vacuum sealed in this pouch here, and I'm gonna put them in this water, and I'm gonna let them go just, I don't know, 4 hours. Who knows, because it's only 160 degrees to make the meat the texture that I want, because I'm disappointed.